Hi class, my name is Marquita Payne and today will be presenting a PowerPoint on Ronnie Karen Revin's New York Times article, How Unconscious Bias in Healthcare Puts Pregnant Black Women at Higher Risk. Through the interviews with Black women who have experienced pregnancy in the American healthcare system, this article reports on the disproportionate mistreatment of these Black women relative to outcomes experienced by white mothers. Like Shakima Toze, pictured to the right in this slide, whose fetus was referred to as a hoodlum by a nurse performing an ultrasound. In a devastating turn of events, Toze later gave birth to a stillborn after doctors refused to tend to her preeclampsia, a serious condition that causes extremely high blood pressure, and it can lead to preterm birth, stillbirth, organ damage, and ultimately preeclampsia, a sudden seizure that can be deadly for mother and for baby. Ruham Dunmeyer, grooms pictured here, also reported uncomfortable and offensive experiences with hospital staff. She recounts being constantly asked, "Where's your baby daddy?" To which she would think, "I don't have a baby daddy, I have a husband." Backed, backed by research from various studies and CDC data, the article sheds light on shocking statistics. For example, Black women die of pregnancy related complications at 2 or 3 times the rate of white women. The article concludes that unconscious bias, the institutional, sorry, associations we make when we encounter a person or phenomenon is the main culprit. It outlines a few solutions that hospitals have invested to reduce the impact of subconscious bias in American healthcare system on Black pregnant women specifically. I will be contextualizing this article further with course concepts from our readings in Chapter 9, which was about mothering, and Chapter 3, which was on the images of women. These concepts will bring awareness to the American healthcare system structures and practices for pregnant people and how they interplay between intersectionality, unconscious bias, and stereotyping impacts Black pregnant women. Pregnancy is equally enriching and challenging, best entered with the support of a strong network of family and a strong care team. Unfortunately, pregnant Black women overwhelmingly report negative experiences in hospital settings. Data derived from interviews and studies reveal sobering testimonies. Quote, medical staff don't listen to Black women when they complain of symptoms and dismiss or downplay their concerns. Additionally, quote, Black pregnant women are more likely than white women to say they were pressured to undergo cesarean section deliveries and other childbirth interventions, such as epidurals and labor induction, when they sought to avoid them. These findings support the alarming statistics of Black maternal mortality in America. When doctors are careless with Black patients, distancing themselves from urgent, compassionate attention these women deserve, the outcomes are dangerous. To understand this pattern of mistreatment, it is important to contextualize how Black mothers ended up in the hospital in the first place. The United States healthcare system has a medical model of birth. Over 99% of those births are in the hospital. The quote event of childbirth, a normal, natural, successful physical process women have been going through since the beginning of time, is over medicalized in the United States. Over the last few waves of feminists thoughts. Many women have advocated for more autonomy in their pregnancy journey to evolve through the dominant mode, which is one of being, quote, dependent, passive, and subject to authority, to one of more empowered self determination. For example, the rise of breathing techniques like Lamaze method can reduce the routine use cause of pain medication drugs. Water births at home or birth centers under the purview of a doula can replace the customary supine position women are subject to in hospital settings. The supine position, pictured here in our slide at the bottom, privileges the comfort of doctors delivering the baby and not on the mother delivering the baby. Most water births are performed with the mother squatting or sitting in a more comfortable position that allows for gravity to work in her and the baby's favor. The article reports on Black women and mothers being reportedly questioned about their marital and insurance status, even when they, quote, wore a wedding band and had a hyphenated last name or had private insurance. Black mothers have reported hearing hospital personnel use phrases like baby daddy in a reference to their baby's fathers and hoodlum, quote, in reference to a fetus in their utero. This mistreatment is attributed to unconscious biases that many non-Black American hospital personnel harbor towards their Black patients. Racism is deep in the roots of American tree of life. It did not disappear when slavery was abolished, nor when the civil rights movement made great waves in legislation supporting the equal treatment of Black Americans. Racism persists most strongly in subconscious manifesting in unfair and inaccurate and harmful stereotypes and biases about Black people. A stereotype is a fixed, oversimplified conception of, quote, members of a particular group on how they think, look, and behave. Chapter 3 draws from research on perceptions of Black women versus white women, which revealed that, quote, typical white women, American white women, were seen as intelligent, materialistic, and sensitive, whereas typical Black American women were seen as loud, talkative, and aggressive. These perceptions are stereotypes, and stereotypes lead to unconscious bias. Unconscious or implicit bias are rapid judgments we make about people or phenomenon based on a lifetime of subconscious socialization. In American hospital settings where doctors and nurses are rushed, stressed, exhausted, it is more likely that unconscious bias will sneak somewhere into the surface. From the intersectional standpoint, it is evident that hospital settings can be dangerous for not only women and Black people, but Black women specifically. Intersectionality is the acknowledgement of the interconnected nature of social characterizations or identifying identity markers like race, class, education, and gender as they apply to a given individual or group. Intersectional perspectives account for the unique lived experience of humans. For example, Shakima Tose's experience with the nurse who called her unborn fetus a hoodlum is one that a white pregnant mom would be less likely to encounter. The word hoodlum is commonly used to connote, quote, thuggish behavior, which is associated with young Black men and crime. Shakima's identity as a Black woman, and as a pregnant person are interconnected. A Black female and a pregnant person in America is specifically vulnerable, such as microaggression, are calling a baby in an ultrasound a hoodlum. According to the article, These racial disparities between Black and white pregnant women persist across economic and educational lines. That means no matter how wealthy or educated a Black pregnant woman is, she will still be vulnerable to racial disparities and mistreatment in American healthcare. Racism is a persuasive, sinister, and lethal force. As a Black woman, I am saddened and disgusted by the negative outcomes routinely experienced by Black pregnant women in America hospital settings. Research like this reveals that covert and explicit racism can be just as deadly as overt racism. These hospital personnel are not engaging in direct violence or blatant refusal of services based on the color of the patient's skin. They are allowing the racism that festers in their subconscious to impact snap judgments on their patients, which result in disrespectful, discriminatory behavior that can have lethal consequences. This research is tough to grapple with. It definitely makes me want to avoid hospital settings and advocate more for Black women, especially pregnant Black women, to do the same. However, I also recognize that inherent right a woman has to determine what level of care she is most comfortable with. I believe that a woman's pregnancy should be in her own hands, and if giving birth in a hospital is what she wants, she's entitled to a safe and positive experience. With women's reproductive rights being more vulnerable than ever, it is imperative that rigorous reform take place to ensure of their well-being. Broad commitment to continuous, well-researched, and even engaging in anti-bias, anti-racism training should be required for hospital personnel. As someone who has taken these trainings before, I would advocate for a more engaging training model. Conventional training can be dull and impersonal. I would like to see training that is more narrative focused, more human focused. Hospital personnel work with humans every day, so a training that highlights human stories like the ones featured in the article that I read and chose to use can ignite empathy and curiosity. Doulas can also be an important resource for Black parents, Black women. Doulas are pregnant women's number one advocate. They are their voice. They guide the mother emotionally, physically, and even spiritually, if desired, through the pregnancy process from an educated, informed, and compassionate perspective. The presence of a doula increases the pregnant woman's autonomy. Investing resources and increasing cultural consciousness about doulas will be very beneficial to a Black pregnant woman. Organizations like the Just Birth Network, which matches pregnant women of color to doulas, are a step in the right direction. Lastly, reform can take place at the polls. Voting for women's reproductive rights is one of the best ways to advocate for Black pregnant women. Thank you.